It's live now. All right, everyone. Welcome to the DigitSQUAD AMA for the week. Today we'll be talking about how to run a successful tech blog. I'll just start the presentation in about 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes. Give people time to sort of get in and get familiar with the live and maybe ask a few questions. Just a precursor though, I'll finish off with the presentation and only then will I answer questions. So maybe just give it around maybe 10 to 15 minutes. You can sit through the whole thing and we'll get to your questions. Don't worry. Thank you guys for joining us as well. We know that it's the lockdown and everyone's home and kind of bored, and we're essentially reaching almost breaking point. It's been quite some time. We're hoping, fingers crossed, that everything opens up by Monday, or at least bit by bit, to keep everyone safe as well. I hope all of you guys have been keeping safe. I hope all of you guys have been keeping well. Please take care of yourselves and your families and stuff. It's quite a trying time. I know that it's been a long time we've been stuck at home, so um, let's hopefully hopefully everything is fine by the next couple of months, and that the government essentially opens up everything and all of us can get on with our daily lives. So yeah, that's it. Just give it a couple of more minutes, and then we'll get to the presentation as well. Today, just a brief breakdown of everything. I'm going to be talking about how to run a successful tech blog. Um, I won't be going too much into the technical aspects of it, like setting up a website, SEO, HTML coding, all of that stuff, because that's really not my expertise. My expertise more runs towards content and editorial management and things like that. And so today we'll talk about like how to get the right kind of content for your website, um, how to curate the right kind of content if that's what you're into, and I'll also be talking a little bit about social media and how it really helps in spreading the message, in getting the word out, and basically getting more people to view your articles, more people to read your articles, more people to stay on the site, promote the site, etc., etc. So thanks again very much for joining us. And no, I don't have the coronavirus. Don't worry, it's just a cough. Website content. Well, I mean, just as a brief, before I get into the presentation of the things as well, website content, especially if you're running a tech blog, is not as sort of straightforward and as easy as most people think. It requires a little bit of know-how and a little bit of exactly what kind of stories to select, how to write the right kind of stories, and I'll of course, once you check it out, I'll be going through all of this in the presentation itself. um, and I'll explain everything in a little bit more detail. It won't be a very long presentation, don't worry about it. Like, I'm not going to bore you guys. It'll just be a basic overview of exactly what we also at Digit kind of do, and what might necessarily work for us might not work for you guys. Things like that, again, go through a little bit of social media as well: Facebook, Twitter. I've Instagram, not so much, but Instagram is good for different sorts of, like, if you have like really cool products, or if you have something like really interesting to say, Instagram's a great place. But more often than not, we'll be concentrating on like either just Facebook and maybe even a little bit of Twitter. Again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And let's see who's on the live stream, how many people are on. Oh, there are 25 people on the live stream. That's great. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, seriously, really appreciate it. And give it a couple of more minutes, maybe 2 minutes, and then we'll start with the presentation. Yeah, cool. Great. I hope you guys have been doing well, though. It's been a really rough time for all of us. Please take care of your families, all that. Like, it goes without saying, it's a unprecedented time for all of us in the world right now. I think everybody's suffering, and all of us as well. We've been going through a relatively rough time, staying at home, nothing to do, watching movies and watching television shows, and hopefully everything will be fine by Monday. Well, not fine, but everything will start moving towards getting fine on Monday. We'll start getting back to normal life. Uh, Maybe another minute more, and then we'll start with the presentation. I think there's quite a number of people already joining us. Yes, I'm from the editorial team. Kunal's asking. We'll start the presentation in just about a minute. Um, it's Mayank says, "Can we go multilingual?" I truly apologize for it. My Hindi is not very good, and I don't want to butcher the language. I feel I have a lot of respect for Hindi, and I'm not very good at it, as I'm not from a major city. So it's tough for me to really sort of communicate in Hindi. I'll communicate in English as well with you guys. Yes, I'm from the editorial team, Kunal says. I'm an assistant editor in Digit. I handle basically all the copy editing. I do all the checking. I also write. I handle the entertainment section as well. So movies, television, stuff like that. I'll answer all these questions. Don't worry. I'll answer them as soon as the presentation is over. It's 5 o'clock now, so let's immediately get into the presentation. Yeah, awesome, guys. Cool. All right. So, how to run a successful tech blog? Now, the first thing that, as you can see, the two brackets I have up there, content and social media. I've tried to break it down into a very simple, easy to understand sort of content buckets, which is one, again, your content, which means your articles, your feature articles, important things like that. And for social media, I'll be talking a little bit about like how you post, kind of, the kind of catchy headlines that we have for social media, because you do realize like there's so many different kinds of companies and different kinds of like blogs out there who run as well. So it's tough to really ascertain who to click, right? Like you're beaming it out to the entire world, and it has to essentially have a really good message for everybody to sort of catch on. So let's go ahead with it, right? So today we're going to be looking at content first. So now, how do you choose the right kind of stories? This is a very, very important part of content for us as well at Digit. Every morning, all of us, we go through a whole bunch of websites. We go through a lot of, basically, for personally, what I do is I have a feed, right? I have a feed where I get stories about tech from all sorts of sites. I get stories from Telecom Talk. I get stories from The Verge, from international publications, BBC, basically any kind of international uh, corporation that has access to all of these giant companies. So sometimes even we break stories as well. A lot of our Digit editorial team are fantastic at it. Like, I have to give them props. These guys are always on top of their game, and we are choosing the right kind of stories. What I mean when I say that is choosing the right stories for technology. If you're running a tech blog, there's no need, like, unless, of course, I'm just going to explain a little bit. There's no need to talk about like business stories, right? So if you're looking at something like Reliance Geo has annual turnover of 50 crore or something, just as a breakdown, that is not a tech story. That is a business story. So if you're going to choose a story like that, you have to find a technological bent to it. So maybe in the story you could have something like, you break it down, you have a line saying, okay, Geo has had this much profits or this much losses, and then you talk about exactly what the tech behind Reliance Geo is. That's the first thing. Now, which are the blogs or sites to follow to get the best and latest news? Now, this is going to be a little personalized, because as far as I'm concerned, I have a particular feed, right? I have an RSS feed where I've basically tagged in companies or websites like The Verge, Ars Technica. I have a lot of respect for the BBC as well. They cover a lot of really great stories, even CNN, or even a whole bunch of other things. You have to make sure that the right stories are chosen at the right time, right? Some of these websites also, again, as a if you're going to start a tech blog, it's a bit of a journalistic thing as well, so you have to be really careful about what stories you're picking. So just make sure that the stories you're picking make sense to you and make sense to your audience. Now, always remember, you're catering to your audience, so just make sure that it's very audience your it's focused on your audience as well. Now we're going to go ahead and see, how do you write a tech article, right? Writing a tech article is just as easy as writing a news story. You follow what we call a pyramid structure. Basically, all the relevant information that you have as far as tech is concerned should be at the top. So I will just give you a basic example. Say OnePlus is releasing on May 29th. OnePlus 8, sorry, is releasing on May 29th. And you want to talk about the phone, right? So the first thing you need to do is your first line, your first paragraph has to say, OnePlus is releasing on May 29th. The OnePlus 8 is coming to India on May 29th, here, whether it's available on Amazon, whether it's available on Flipkart, everything has to be in the first paragraph. That way you grab the reader immediately. You don't him or her, apologies, you don't make him or her read through 250 words to get to the meat of the story. The meat of the story has to be right on top. Always remember, it's a pyramid structure, right? It's like a triangle. So the most important thing goes up on top, and then everything else that you have to say. So your OnePlus specifications, the features of OnePlus, go in the second paragraph. Important to have a heading as well on there. So you can say OnePlus features and specifications and then talk about it. Like, it comes with this particular screen, it comes with this processor, it comes with this particular display, and then right at the end you kind of sum up everything. This is what has happened, it's coming out again as so many words. Also remember, try, if you're writing a news story, try not to go more than 250 to 300 words, maybe 350 even. Anything more than that is like you lose users, especially these days when people are reading on mobile phones. Nobody wants to keep scrolling. It becomes difficult for them as well to keep things in mind. So always remember that 250 to 300 words, keep it short, keep it snappy. You don't want to overload. As I said, how to structure your stories in such a way as to give readers all the info they need without overloading them, right? There's so many stories out there, and that's important to make sure that your reader gets all the information they need right as they click on it. I'll go a little bit into this as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about keyword placing. So now, when you're talking about, again, I'll use the OnePlus 8 as an example, because since that's the latest phone or latest range that's come out, keyword placement usually, ideally, for us as well, we try to put everything into the first paragraph. So say your keywords are OnePlus, OnePlus 8, OnePlus 8 series, OnePlus 8 Pro, things like that. All of these keywords, generally, we'll try and keep it in the first paragraph. That way, if Google trawls your site, or you want it to appear on certain search engines, these are the keywords that these search engines will pick up as well. So always remember, you place the keywords in specific locations to gain maximum visibility. What I mean by that is usually headline and first paragraph. These are the most important places where you can have keywords. The next thing we'll go in is which stories work, right? Now, Google Trends really helps with this, because if you really look at Google Trends, what it does is it aggregates how many people are talking about a certain subject. Now, if you want to get to your audience and you're running a tech blog, you're going to want to catch the tech audience, right? So Google technology, the news feed also really helps. It gives you a sense of what is coming, right? On Google Trends, like for example, for us, we noticed that a lot of people were talking about Garena Free Fire, the online multiplayer game, and we realized that it was going to be something big. So what we did was we essentially had a basic guide as well as an advanced guide. You can check it out on our website as well. What we did was we figured out that, all right, in the next couple of days, this is going to be trending. As we did that, and immediately within a day or two, these were the two stories that were doing incredibly well for us. So remember that. Go to Google Trends. That's your best friend usually, right? And monitor exactly what is happening there. You'll see the graph, and you know how many people are searching for certain things, and you can actually predict it. If a graph is kind of going up, it's very rare that it's going to drop immediately. So just be a little mindful about the kind of sorry, not mindful, but just be a little careful about how you're looking at trends as well, because it really helps you following the correct amount of trends. Now, what works for Digit may not necessarily work for you. This is also relatively important. We've been around for a really long time, and we have cultivated a certain amount of audience. So therefore, we can afford to do entertainment stories or superhero stories, television shows, things like that. These do bring in a lot of numbers. And so we also tend to kind of cover that stuff as well. Gaming is another one. If you're going for a really hard tech, there's no point covering entertainment, right? And if you want viewers and stuff like that, then I would suggest that's a really good idea as well. You can cover entertainment, you can cover pop culture, basically geek culture, right? Like I would say superhero films, science fiction movies, science fiction television shows, fantasy shows. That kind of stuff works for us relatively well, but it might not necessarily work for you. So just be a little mindful about how you're catering to what particular audience that you are. Now, next we'll go up to images. A lot of people don't really look at images as an important part of website management. Now, the thing is, we humans, as you notice, are very visual creatures. The first thing we do is we look at things, right? I mean, unless, of course, no offense, but unless, of course, you have maybe eye damage or you're blind, the first thing you'll do is you will look at certain things. What catches your eye? not the headline, not what's written under the headline. The first thing that catches your eye will always be the image. As someone who's very interested in comic books and who's very interested in visual media, this is something I've noticed across platforms where I've worked in as well. Images will determine whether someone clicks on your article as well. The image headline, but importantly the image. Do not use blurry images, do not use out of focus images, and do not use images that don't make sense to your story. Sometimes you might want to maybe make it a little clickbaity. Try not to do that. Try to have images that go really well with the story as well. Use clear, vibrant, eye-catching images. Important. Always make sure that you use. And again, this is another really important thing I've noticed. Make sure your images are always in the right resolution and in the right frames. So for Facebook, I know it's 720p. So make sure that your images aren't stretched, aren't like sort of compressed, and they look good. Clear, crystal clear images really help, really go a long way in terms of a successful tech blog as well. Now we'll move on to the last thing in terms of a successful tech blog. Always make sure. Now, when you start your tech blog, obviously you're going to have maybe 10 to 15 articles, right? Always make sure to backlink your articles. This is something I've noticed a lot of tech bloggers don't do. They write the story and that's it. That's done. Okay, cool. It's also understandable because it's something that you don't really think about. But as a reader, if I'm reading some of your articles and I see something that's been hyperlinked, I want to know what that is, just out of curiosity's sake. And even if, say, 100 people come and read, 10 people click on it and back onto your website. So always remember that. Try to have a minimum of 3 to 4 backlinks to your stories. And if you can't find a backlink, find a very creative way of doing it. Like I will give you a very brief example of what we've done as well. So sometimes when we're talking about games, say we're doing a game review. So our last game review we did was Doom Eternal, right? In Doom Eternal, what a lot of our writers and editors did was we had the entire review of Doom Eternal, and at the end we talked about Doom 2016. You say if you really want to know more about Doom, click here. So that would lead someone back to Doom 2016. What that does is also it keeps people engaged in your site. You obviously want people to stay on your blog or website longer than most other places, right? That's another really good way of doing it. You also have to remember that again you're catering to your audience. So if you're covering games, make sure that you talk more like, in that particular article, talk more about games, add more information about games, backlink to all the older articles in your games as well. Another really important thing to keep in mind with. So that was just a basic run through of content for it. I'll head on to social media now, which is another very important part of website management and basically running a successful tech blog or website. Do not dismiss social media. A lot of us use social media as a tool to connect with friends and family, and that's all well and good, no doubt about that. But another very important part of social media is that sites like Facebook help you reach a whole bunch of people that you might not be able to reach normally, right? Sharing articles. If you have a really good article, something that news that you've broken, or you have very unique views. Uh, Before I get into social media, just one more thing I want to add. Make sure that your articles have solid USP to them, right? Like everybody's working on tech blogs these days. Everybody writes, like, I mean, it's a very crowded market. What do you bring that other people want to read? That is something that you'll have to figure out. We've got our own way. I'm not going to let you know what we do, but there is a particular way where we sort of get people to read our websites, a unique USP, so to speak. You have to have a unique voice, right? Sometimes that may be a little controversial, sometimes that may be not relevant, but you have to have a unique voice when it comes to content on the website. I'll just get back to social media now. It's incredibly important. Say you have a really good article and you shared it on, say, Facebook. You have 1,000 friends on your Facebook list, right? Out of those 1,000 friends, say 10 reshare that particular article. From that reshare, maybe another 10 people reshare that. So basically what that happens is you bring a lot more people and you basically make your site visible to a lot more people. Articles need to be shareable, and it essentially basically explodes the reach of your particular article or your particular blog. Your captions, right? Now, something that we do is something that I've noticed a lot in tech captions is people try to be very concise with what they're trying to say, right? Like, so if it's this is something that we sometimes do as well. We engage the audience. So we have about maybe a million or two, something like that, 1.3, 1.4 million subscribers to the Digit Facebook page, and it's always good to interact with them. Remember to answer their queries or questions as well. That is one way that you really get a lot of people to sort of like come back to your blog, because you've it's not just like a faceless entity, right? There's someone behind it talking to people as well, and that has a nice connect with your audience. Your social media headlines generally try to make it a little more different than what you have on your website to draw more people in. You can be a little clickbaity, but you have to be very careful because Facebook also kind of like limits the reach of things that are very clickbaity. Another thing about social media is your images. This is something we learned recently as well. Facebook kind of restricts the reach of a post that has more than 20% text in the image. So try to keep the text in the image to a minimum, right? Have a nice, really cool looking image, and that should definitely do the trick. When you're writing about certain companies, so say again, I will use the example of OnePlus. If you're talking about OnePlus, always tag the correct people, because what that does is your thing will show up on their page as well, and they will essentially kind of give you a little bit of viewership and shares also. And this is a small little thing, but if you have a little bit of money, it's a good idea to try and boost your posts as well. What will happen is it'll show up as a sponsored piece, and if it's a really, really good article that you have, it's a good idea to always try and boost your posts. And so that was it. This is these are the basics of how to run a successful tech blog as far as content is concerned. I will sort of answer your questions a little bit now, and we're going to just get into it. Yeah, let me head on to the YouTube stream. It is the light of God above my head, really. Sorry. Himanshu says, Sir, my website is 1.2 years old. The website is approved by Google News and receives 1K traffic monthly. I need to increase the traffic to 1 million monthly. Um, this is a slightly more technical question that I'm not able to really sort of answer right now, but I can, as I said, maybe it could be a thing of content, right? It could also could be social media presence. Maybe you could look into a little bit of social media promotion, maybe getting out there in terms of social media a little more as well. Rahul Mukherjee asks, does the article follow any specific structure like introduction, body, conclusion, or we go unconventional? Superb question, Rahul. Thank you for a really, really good question. As I said, structure should ideally be a more pyramidic structure, right? So you have the most important information right at the top, and then from there onwards, you sort of like go you start working towards the bottom of that. Start off with the most important information and then a little bit more about the product you're talking about. And towards the end, you can basically sum everything up and just make it much easier for the reader to like, okay, I've gotten my information. Now, what else can I read about this? Right? What source would you recommend to start a tech blog? I didn't understand that question as much. I'll try and get back to you on that. Does Digit feature content by other bloggers in lieu of backlinks? Yes, we do sometimes. So, say, for example, another website breaks a story. It's always good etiquette to backlink to that story as well. What it does is it builds goodwill with those guys as well. And plus, most people will look at it and say, all right, these guys are for real. At least they're giving exposure to somebody else. And it's just good etiquette to do it. Kunal asks, are you from the editorial team? Yes, I am. As I've said before, I'm one of the assistant editors here. We've got an amazing editorial team. I cannot praise my editorial team more than I already have. These guys are some of the best and easiest guys to work with. I truly love working for Digit. So, what is Digit's SEO strategy? This is a very secretive thing. I can't give these out because it's a little bit difficult for me to sort of give out trade secrets, right? Himanshu says, I would recommend everyone to focus on keyword research. That's also a very, very important bit. It's a more technical aspect of it. But yes, please do focus on keywords as well. It's a very, very, very important aspect of it. It helps with crawling when Google crawls for your site as well. And it also helps you rank on basically the Alexa rankings. Sharath asks, what if you want to contribute content to Digit? You can send us, any one of us, an email as well, depending on the kind of content you have. I mean, if it's really, really good content and you have something really important to say, I think we definitely take a look at it. What is a good publish frequency? Fantastic, fantastic question. So for us at Digit, ideally we look at publishing a minimum of 20 stories a day. Now, why minimum of 20 stories a day? Because it helps us sharing. When it comes to sharing, it really helps us get the word out on social media as well. We tend to share stories on an hourly basis, right? So if you have a good chunk of stories to share, what that does is it keeps readers engaged. When you just keep scrolling down to your feed, you'll keep seeing the stories pop up. So fantastic question. Really, really cool question. Arzu asks, a team is always better than alone for a good tech blog. That's a tough question. Like, it's a really, really good question. Fantastic question. I really appreciate you asking that, Arzu. A team always is better, of course. I mean, two heads are always better than one, right? That's the major saying usually. If you have more people working on something, you have more opinions on it. You guys can, like, a lot of stuff that we do on Digit, especially when we're writing like feature stories, we tend to bounce ideas off of each other. So sometimes I may not know certain things about, like, I'm not very good with PC components. I love PC gaming and I love game, but I'm not very good with PC components. And so what I do is I immediately get up and I ask one of my other colleagues about PCs, an expert on them. So I get the immediate answer there. I will say that it's not difficult running alone, but it's always better running it with a team. What if we blog alone? We can't do 20 a day. Agreed. Really, really good question as well. If according to that, I would say pick the best stories that you can, right? Again, going through trends and stuff, like, you can always pick the right particular stories. Like, realize that especially in a country like India, a lot of people like local flavor in their stories. So maybe something about Reliance will generally do quite well. We've also noticed that mobile gaming does very well. So I would say PUBG, for now, Garena Free Fire is really crushing it for us. So yeah, pick the best stories as you can. You don't need to do 20 if you're just one person running a blog. It's very difficult, I understand, but I would say maybe 6 to 7 stories a day, really, really good ones, and give it a good hour or two break on social media so you keep sharing stuff. Yeah. What is the optimal percentage of keywords must be used in an article to avoid keyword stuffing? So as an editorial decision, what I generally use, so what I do is I also check all the copy on Digit as well. So I try to make sure that all the keywords that are used are editorially correct. Like, it doesn't, like, basically a keyword doesn't seem weird or out of place, right? Again, you're right. Don't stuff your keywords in there. I would say a good maybe 30% of keywords in the first paragraph would be really, really good. You don't stuff it. That's a really bad practice to do. Do not stuff keywords in the first paragraph as well. Make sure that all your keywords are editorially correct. They read correctly. So say your keyword is 1 plus 8. Don't just like put it anywhere. Like, talk about, like, the 1 plus 8 has this, etc., etc. Can we take some help from the Google Search Web Console? Absolutely. So do we. I mean, it's, if you're not using that, like, you should be using it. So yes, absolutely. If you're starting, Kaushik asks, if you're starting a tech blog under a successful blogging site, how can you interest non-tech people? So what do people really like reading, right? Especially in this day and age when, like, I'm talking about the past couple of months when all of us have been stuck at home doing not much. We're watching television, watching movies. That's a really good way of dragging people into it. You can also look at gaming as well, pop culture stuff like superhero movies, science fiction shows, fantasy shows, stuff like that. that will grab a lot of normies, as they say. It grabs a lot of normal people, and then of course once they get to your site, it's up to you to sort of keep them there, as I said, with backlinks, and make it interesting for them to get to the site. Can you tell us if Digit follows any copywriting strategy? As I said, we follow the pyramid scheme. We, of course, everything, we make sure that everything is grammatically correct. Try not to make spelling mistakes. We use Grammarly a lot, and then there's me, of course, to check for grammar and your sort of punctuation and all of that kind of stuff. What should be the 365 tech tricks asks what should be the ideal length of blog posts? As I mentioned, an ideal blog post should be around 250 to 300 words. Try to keep it under that, like, nothing more than that. What happens is most people read on mobile, so you don't want people to just keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling. Give them all the information they need and then move on to the next thing. Hareen asks, if starting out, is Instagram recommended over Facebook or using a combination of multiple social media platforms? Superb question. Yes. Using multiple social media platforms is usually the best way to go about it. We also use Twitter. I haven't talked much about Twitter as well, but Twitter is really, really good for personalized tagging. Like, for example, if you really want to get Madhav Seth's attention, Realme CEO, generally tag him on Twitter and he sees your post and sort of he shares your post. Therefore, it keeps going on and on that way. Therefore, you essentially build more viewers of a certain platform. With Instagram, your strategy has to be a little different as well. Maybe it's stories, picture posts, stuff like that. Then you can link back to your website through there as well. What if we face what if we face what if we some stole our content without giving backlink to us? Good question. You'll definitely have to contact that person. Like, you have to make sure that people aren't stealing your content. It's a huge issue in this day and age, especially with the internet and people getting news everywhere. Make sure that you contact that person and make sure at least you get a backlink out of them. This is something we personally really like to do. We backlink most of the stuff that we get. We'll give them a link and say that in an exclusive report, buy, and link it there. Kunal asked, but short stories aren't good for SEO, right? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If your keywords and your primary and your secondary keywords are included in the story, it doesn't make a difference. Usually, short stories do relatively well as well. Sharath asks, how much focus do you put on niche beats, like let's say luxury technology? Thank you so much for the compliment, Sharath. I really appreciate it. So, it depends, right? Like luxury technology. I mean, if you're talking about really expensive tech, we're talking about sometimes when, like me, for example, when our editors and our writers go and cover events like CES or E3, or I mean, forget about E3, but CES. So CES has a lot of these like cool tech that not very many people will see, and that's one way of like covering luxury technology. It's also really, if you think about it, very aspirational, right? Like a lot of us want to look at like really cool stuff. So yeah, we do focus a lot on luxury technology, but not as much as we'd like to. Of course, maybe in the future that'll change. Vipul asks. Superb question, Vipul. How not to be lazy while writing articles? I become lazy when I write articles and quit. I mean, you have to really love what you do. One thing about us at Digit is we're all here because we want to be here. If you start a tech blog, you want to do this. Nobody's asking you to do it, right? Like, you're doing it for yourself. Like, from here, it has to come from here. That's the most important thing about anything in life. I think it has to come from here. Once it comes from here and you're sincere about it, it'll definitely come out in your writing. It'll definitely come out in the way you do things. So if you're feeling a little lazy, maybe it's not the right kind of article you're writing, right? You have to love it and you have to be interested in the topic you're writing. So try to like pick stories that you want to write about and then you think other people would like to read. So yeah, that's How do you get ideas for tech content on a daily basis for a small website of D810? Good question. Good, really, really good question. I would say, like, start a feed of your own. Usually, we have RSS feeds and stuff that grabs stories from different places, right? Like, so you'll get from the BBC or you'll get it from like international publications. So make sure that you're getting content from these other places that come. It's important that you have a fair idea of exactly what you want to write about as well. That's also really, really important. Once you figure out exactly where you're moving in terms of a straight line, it'll be much easier for you to select the kind of right content as well. So I hope I answered that question. Manish asks, really good question. I might not be able to give you the perfect answer, but I will try my level best. Thank you for asking that question, Manish. I always try to cover things on my site, but when high authority sites publish the same news, my site goes down. So how to tackle that? One way is that, look, so as soon as your traffic starts going down, you'll see, like, go to those blogs, see exactly what they're doing. Sometimes it could be that they've given users something else to hang on there, like for example maybe a video, maybe embedding a tweet, maybe embedding as I said, a video, maybe an Instagram post, something that keeps users engaged. We found that usually that kind of helps. When we see that our sites are going down, we usually go back and we kind of update everything and try to make it much easier for people to like get unique content. How to come up with the name of your blog? Good question. I mean, you got to be a little creative about it, right? A little bit creative about it. So you're going to be looking at, like, say you have an auto tech website. This is just from the top of my head. Please don't take this as a personal thing. It's just from the top of my head. I'm just answering questions. Say you have an auto tech website. So your thing could be like, zeal4wheels.com, ZEAL for wheels.com, something cool, something snappy, something like that. You got to be get a little creative with it. Talk to your friends, like, find out what they think of it, like that way. Keep just as an example, this has nothing to do with tech. Like, when I was younger, we had a band. And so how did we come up with our band name? All of us just threw like 50, 60 names into a thing, and we just kept going through, okay, this sounds good, that sounds good. And once everybody agrees, we're like, okay, this is what we go through. That's something you could try out as well. Maybe speak to friends, family. That's also a really good idea. What kind of titles, Kaushik asks, thanks Kaushik for your question. What kind of titles do people like more? Serious ones, funny ones, or something else? Usually it's a combination of both, I've noticed. Yeah, like sometimes the funny ones do really, really well. Sometimes they don't, which is really strange. It's tough to predict what people really like reading. That's one of the more difficult things, I think, like, to have like a good headline, like a really pardon my language, but a really kick-ass headline. That's a little difficult sometimes to come up with. We have really have to rack our brains in that. But fantastic question though. Um, Mohan asks, how do you schedule topics for a certain time period, or do you come up with topics on a daily basis? Do you mean on social media, or do you mean on the website? If you can just sort of like break it down, I'll probably be able to give you a better answer. Mm, Sagar asks, what is the future of blogs? Means in the near future, will people read blogs? I'm asking in a positive way. Hey, of course. I mean, no, no, not an issue at all. It's a great question. It's a superb question. Thank you for that as well. Yeah, there's a great future in blogs. Like, it's what happens is we're moving away from print. Like, so this is the future. I uh, I I normally see, like, even with newspapers. I have friends who work in the print media, and all of them say that their subscription rates and their sort of like reader viewership has gone down. Plus, it's much easier to access online content, right? Like, it's much easier. You just have to like log on to somewhere and you get your content immediately. You don't have to read a paper, don't have to open up anything. So blogs are definitely the future. You don't have to worry about that. Um, Atmadeep Mishra asks, any specific time to publish the post? As I think people won't read articles when they're exhausted or busy. Superb question. Really, really, really good question. Yes, you are absolutely correct. Timing good stories is always very smart. Like, what time do people read? What, if you've noticed, right? Most people have a very similar routine. We wake up in the morning, we go to work, we work, of course, and then we come back in the evening. The time when people are traveling, usually, when people are in transit is a fantastic time to share stories, and right before when people sleep. So I would say around the evening time is a great time to have stories. Now of course right now because of the lockdown people are reading stories all the time, but more often than not planning it for when people are traveling, when people are on the road, and when people right before they go to sleep, when they're checking their phones, that's usually a really good time to do it. Answer, yes, you were asking for blogs. No, we don't really have a specific um, schedule for a thing. Like we usually try to get the stories out as fast as possible, right? So say again, I will say we get news that okay, the OnePlus is releasing something, we get a press release. We usually try to get it done within the next 20 minutes to half an hour. Anything longer than that, like, the reach generally goes down, so we try to keep it at 20 minutes to half an hour to try and get everything upload, get the image correct, everything about 20 to 30 minutes. Soumik Shashwat asked, fantastic question. Thank you for this question. I was just about to get to that. Why would anyone read my article if they get the same news from giants like TechCrunch and Gizmodo? Superb question. As I was saying, you have to have a unique twist and a unique bent to it. You have to give people something to hook onto, something they're not getting from TechCrunch or from Gizmodo. Now, a really good way of doing it is to add a desi twist to it. That's something I've noticed that really, really works. Again, a lot of it is also trial and error sometimes, right? You try a lot of things, certain things will work, certain things will fail. But what I've noticed is that giving something local flavor really helps. So, for example, say again, I'm just going to straight up go with a basic thing because that's the first thing in my mind. Say OnePlus, right? So, say we get something about OnePlus. We always try to include an India bent to it. How much will it cost in India? Whether it's a smartphone that's manufactured here or whether it's released here first. So local flavor generally helps get more traction than giants like TechCrunch or Gizmodo. I hope I've answered your question, Kunal. Thanks for that, though. It's a really, really good question. Superb question. Sharat asks, quick article to just break the news or planned video to get more reach and engagement. Which one? I would say both. Break the news really, really quickly. It's something that we try to do as well, especially with like reviews and stuff. Get the news out really, really quickly and immediately go on to shooting a video. So you'll have both out in the span of maybe an hour or two in between each other. Therefore, you have a face to attach to the article as well. So you've read the article, so maybe you can even go back and attach the video to the article. Therefore, it helps with a more personalized experience. Superb question, Shara. Thank you so much. Hey, not at all, Swamik. It's my pleasure to answer you guys. I'm having a lot of fun here. I hope you guys are as well. Kaushik asks, if we use names of other brands like Star Wars or other big brands or use their tweets or screenshots, will we get DMCA strikes? If not, how far can we use their content? Really, really, really good question. No, you will not get DMCA'd. If they've put out information out on a tweet, it's out in the public domain. You can essentially attach whatever you feel. I don't know if you've noticed this, but like just one second, guys. My voice is. No, so if you've noticed, like, a lot of breaking news happens on Twitter, right? Like, so they'll just be glad that their tweet is being featured in a story and getting more traction. You will not see it. You don't have to worry about that unless your website is called something like Star Wars for you or something. That's a bit of a stretch. But apart from that, no, you will not get DMCA'd. Kunal also asks, good question. How many people are there in the Digit Squad editorial team? Right now, we have about 6 to 7 people on the editorial team. All of us manage various different things. Like I also kind of cover entertainment as well. So we have a smartphone expert, someone who covers laptops and PC components. We also have someone who covers wearables. We also have someone who covers televisions. Like he's an expert at TVs and video games as well. We have an expert on that. So each one of us in the editorial team brings something unique to the company, right? Like and if we don't know, if we have maybe trouble with certain articles, we can always just bounce things off of each other, and it makes it much easier as to function, to get the right information as well. Vipul asks, which is the best, .in or .com for tech blog? If you're, I mean, if you're catering, it depends on who you're catering to, right? If you're catering to a more local crowd, and which is maybe a more India-centric audience, I would say go with the .in. It just makes more sense. If you're catering to a more international crowd, I guess .com just makes more sense that way. Good question, though. Good question. As amateurs, do we need to attend product launches and events? A yes and a no. A yes in a sense, it makes it what it does is it gives the companies a face to match to your blog, right? So say somebody so you go to a Realme launch or a OnePlus launch, and you say I'm from so and so. So now they know, they're like, okay, this guy is from here. Therefore, you'll start getting more newsletters. PR people will start calling you, stuff like that. So yeah, try to attend more launches as well. It makes it much easier for the people at the other end of the companies to put a face to the blog. If there's a fixed job team, what should be the division between content writers, editors, Photoshop people? Ideally, what we try to do is we also have a separate design team. So that's we have two people in our design team. So generally the work gets spread out between the two of them. Editorially, I would say maybe 5 to 6 people would be a really good thing to have. Kunal asks, 6 to 7 people pour out 20 articles a day, which means 3 articles by each by one each day. Yeah, sometimes even more. It depends, right? Like that's why like 3 articles a day means that our writers can do the right kind of research without having to really like having to have a heavy workload load on them. Like say like, oh, I've got like 10 stories to do. Like that kind of breaks down a person's mental fortitude as well. So giving them the right amount of stories to do also really helps, because at the end of the day we're all human. Like, we can only do so much. So really good question, Kunal. Thank you. To Kunal Singh asks, any applications which help us create fancy Instagram posts like other giants or Digit? Generally we have a design team for that. If you have someone who understands Photoshop or who understands design, usually it helps a lot in creating really cool images. Like, I'm not a design person myself. I don't really know how much to work with design, so I usually just give that to other person. I'm more of a visual person. I read comic books and things like that. I know you can't see any of them here, but I really like comic books, so I can understand what looks visually good. I just don't know how to get there. So that's where my design team comes in. Those are the guys that know what looks good, in the particular context of things. So really good question though. If my so Shomik asks, if my friends aren't very interested in blogging, how can I recruit others? I mean, usually, look, in a country like India, someone or the other is always looking for a job. You're always going to find someone who wants to write and who has the passion to write. As I said, it's got to come from here. Like, that's the most important thing. Like, all our team members, people who write technology for us, they all want to be here. They love tech. Same like me. I love technology and I love video games. I love learning about new technology. That's why I do this. That's why all of us do this. So you will find people that will you should not have a problem with that. Himanshu asks, I'm building a team for my tech blog. Can you tell me how to get launch event invitations and review units? Generally, this is something that we do. You'll have to find the public relations people for these websites. You'll find them on LinkedIn usually. So you can search, maybe search for like Realme or whatever. You'll find most of them on LinkedIn, and then you'll have to sort of have a dialogue with them, message them, send them your blog, say, hey, listen, we cover this. Can we get a invitation for a launch? And 99% of the time, usually it works out. So it's not that difficult. Just make sure to search for the right people who run particular public relations for particular brands. Mm, Kaushik asks, really good question. As you said, if an editor knows what looks good but doesn't know how to make it, and the design team aren't skilled enough to know what looks good but have knowledge about software, who gets more priority? Really good question. I have to think about this. Actually, I'll just run through it, and I will get back to you. I will get back to this question. Punk asks how to do SEO for Hindi or Marathi content. I'm really sorry. That's one question I don't know. Like, I'm not very good at Hindi, as you guys have noticed. I can't speak in Hindi as well, so I won't be able to answer that for you. I truly apologize. Mohan also asks, very good question. Does using images in blogs from other sites or social media can cause problems? Sometimes they do. You'll have to really say, okay. So there was a just a reason. Like, so, for example, a site like Digital Life, I think they're called Digital Life, have a lot of renders of products, right? Like, okay, here's a render of the PS5, or here's the render of the Realme this, or here's a render of the Redmi this. Usually we try to contact them, say, hey, can we use this image? 99% of the time they're like, yeah, cool, give us a backlink. So if you just contact them, create a dialogue, it usually helps a lot. Adil asks, my tech website is 1.5 years old and yet the revenue is rock bottom. What do I do? I'm very, very sorry. This is a technical question. I'll try and get back to you on this because I'm not very sure about revenue and stuff like that. Like, I'm more of the content side of things. Thank you, Himanshu, for answering the question. Punk, for Hindi blog, you need to focus on English SEO title. Also, Google promotes local languages. So you've got your answer there. Thank you so much, Himanshu. That's a really good answer. I'll get back to Kaushik's thing. So if the design team isn't skilled enough to do it, what usually as an editor I do is I sit with the design team, right? I'll what I do is they make a template, and the first thing I look at it, I'm like, okay, this doesn't look good. Say, like, I don't like the how this looks. Can we change that? If I then I'll be okay, this does look good, but I don't like the combination of these two colors here. Can we change that? So you usually have to work with the design team to sort of, like, someone who knows the software but doesn't have the aesthetic idea or the aesthetic know-how to make a good image. Generally, it's a combination of you sitting with the design team. Kunal asks, why doesn't Digit make Digit Squad a place people can blog and get paid from the ad revenue? That's a question for all tech people. I will address them with this definitely. Good question. In order to generate reviews, is there any other way than ad placements? I'm not really sure about this. I will get back to you on this. I'll find out and I'll definitely get back to you. This really good question though, Shaumek. Thank you so much. I'm going to answer a few other questions here. Tips for branded content. Sharath, really good question. Thanks, man. Mm, 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 mm. Generally, we use them as like, that's actually a really good question. I haven't thought about this. It's a really good question. I'll definitely get back to you on this. I'm sorry I can't answer this for you right now. I mean, hit me right out of the blue. Like, that's a really smart question. Um, Hey, you guys are doing a fantastic job, man. A lot of you guys are answering questions that have been asked on the blog. Thank you so much, dudes. Like, seriously, you guys are the most awesome squad ever. Thanks, man. Adil asks, good question. I usually end up using titles from other websites. How do you write an SEO optimized title? This is something that we've struggled with as well in the beginning. What we do is we try to keep the keyword right in the beginning. The first word of the headline should ideally be the keyword. So, say again, I keep using the OnePlus because it's the latest thing that's come out. So usually say, like, say like yesterday, for example, we had an article about the Huawei's camera. We talked about the features and stuff, and we were having a lot of trouble finding the right headline. We went back and forth. My one of my other editors and me, we both like sort of talked about it for maybe about like 10-15 minutes, and then finally we realized, okay, we have the name of the product, which hits all your SEO titles and stuff, hyphen, and then we say, so the title was, I remember, Huawei P40 camera dash a deeper look into the innovative camera module, right? That's how we did it. So that's another way you can do it as well. Really good question. Thank you so much. Shomik asks, what's a good starting point for beginners? A website, YouTube channel, an app, or a platform like Medium? Hmm. I would definitely say a website. That makes more sense. The thing is, a YouTube channel, like the competition on YouTube is insane. Like in terms of like trying to get views, like with even with really good videos don't get enough views sometimes. YouTube is crazy that way. And again, it's the algorithm on that platform. It's a little weird. Like I haven't figured that out completely as yet. So I would personally, this is just a personal thing, I would say a website would be the best way to do it. Kunal asks, how is writing for the web different from writing for magazine? Superb question. So, just a bit about myself as well. I started off writing in magazines. I was a music journalist before I got into technology. I used to write about bands and stuff for this magazine called Rock Street Journal. And writing for the magazine is very different. It does not run like a pyramid scheme. Your information is usually low. It's more creative that way. Like when I would write about bands and I would write about things like that, it was very different from what I read about tech, especially on online. It does not follow that pyramid structure. It's more creative that way. It's more of a flow of language, right? Because and the audience also is generally a little different. Really good question though. Damn, that was a really good question. Oh, my mind, my language. Kunal asks, anytime I try contacting Digit, they never respond. Is there a platform you'll surely respond to? Yes, please send us emails. Just find out, like, if you go and read any of our articles and you scroll right to the bottom, you'll see all of our information there, right? You'll have our email addresses there. But just send us an email and we'll, because I mean, all of us are really busy and we don't have time to generally look at all the platforms. But if you send us an email, it's going to be, we'll definitely respond there. Hey Kunal, do send me an email. I'll definitely respond to you. Like that's pretty much my job. Like so, just send me an email. You'll find my articles on the entertainment section, things like that. Just send me an email there. I'll definitely get back to you guys. Shawmik asks, good question. I was just about to get to this. An off-topic question, but I'm not getting my Digit magazine from April. I understand it's due to the current pandemic. Is there any fix to this? Go on to our Facebook page. We have a link for the digital edition of the magazine. It's not very expensive, I don't think. Check that out. It's like we have. It's basically the magazine in digital format. So that's something that you should really definitely check out. Sharath also says we usually end up doing is making branded content look like experimentals, but that's not possible. Correct? Yeah, it's something that we're also really looking at in terms of branded content. Kunal Singh asks, in the future, I also want to work with tech magazines at Digit. I just gave my 12 board exams. What undergraduate course should I pursue to follow my tech passion? It doesn't really matter, yeah. Like I'm not from the tech world at all. I'm not even from the science world. I'm from a liberal arts background. Like I'm more interested in like these arty farty things like poetry and writing and books and comics and stuff like that. It's just that I really like tech and I know how to write, right? So it's just a matter of practicing. Just keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, keep writing, and you'll finally get the hang of it. You just again, as I said, it has to come from here. You have to really love it. Once you really love it, it'll show through your work. Okay, you had an annual subscription to the magazine, Shamik. I'll get back to you on this. I'll speak to my tech team and I'll definitely get back to you on this. How do you think your how do you Kunal asks, good question, how do you think is your competition with other tech blogs like bbom? I think we're holding our own. Come on, I think we're holding our own. The main thing is, I think we have, it's being unique, right? Like, we have to be unique in the way we talk to people, or we talk to our readers. That's the main thing. Like, I think having a unique twist and a unique outlook on things is really important as well. I just answered that question. Again, as I said, you have to be unique. Like, have something else to say. Um, like, have something that the reader can't find on other websites. Like, for example, I'll just give you guys a brief example. Like yesterday, I don't know how many guys of you have watched this. It was Sony's State of Play conference where they talked about Ghost of Tsushima, and everybody did these stories. Oh, Sony does Ghost of Tsushima. What we did was we talked about what were the things you missed in it, the little details that you didn't see in that trailer, or your eyes didn't catch. Like, one of our writers and editors. He's deep into video games, right? Like, he really understands and he loves it. So he really goes deep into it and sort of like picked out little things that even I didn't notice. And I was like, wow, this guy, like, man, I really didn't, like, I didn't notice all of these things. And that was what was unique, and that was what was sort of that pushed that article. So just be a little unique in terms of how you're sort of looking at content. Thank you so much, Shamik, if that's what I think you're saying. I think we really do try to give you guys and our readers something to, like, really hold on to, and like show that we love tech as much as you guys. Like, we really do love it. If your blog is going well, how was Digit started, with how many people in the team? I'm not sure. Like, I think Digit started like almost 20 years ago, something like that. Almost 20, 25 years ago, some really long time. So I'm not very sure of the history there, but I will definitely get back to you. One of my articles was ranked above Digit for one keyword on Bing, while the same article ranked third page on Google. Google is the most fickle software out there is. Like, we've been trying for so long to crack exactly what Google makes Google work. Sometimes our articles get, superb traction on Google, wondering exactly why that happened. Whether it's like, embedding a video or the right keywords, like, you do everything right and it just doesn't work. Like, that is a mystery that I think all of us at Digit are really going to have to sort of like pull our heads together and figure out exactly why that is. Thank you so much, guys. Like, the some of the comments that you guys have come with are really, like, it really touches us. Yeah, like, Digit old is gold. Yes, thank you very much. Your magazines have helped us a lot doing preparation for tech quizzes like TCS, ITWiz. You're very welcome. We hope you crush even more quizzes as well. Thanks for that compliment. Fantastic work. Kunal asks, how do I get a job at a tech influencing company like Digit, or how to search for available vacancies in tech magazines? Even though this has nothing to do with content, I will answer that question. You have to be like dogged about it. Like, so if you want something hard enough, I know it's very cliched and a very movie thing to say, like, if you want something hard enough, but if you really want something hard enough, you will get it no matter what. You'll find the people who are editorially important. You'll go to social, like, and with the internet these days, it's much easier to find exactly who works where. So once you get that, it's much easier. As Kunal says, most have contact us or hiring pages. That's another really good way of doing it as well. Just go there, message someone in the company, and usually 99% of the time they usually reply. Kaushik also asks, I'm a part of my college's magazine. It gives free magazines to students filled with articles from students and fest picks. Should we start doing it in digital format? Yes. Yes, it'll just make things easier for people to read. Like, it makes things easier for people to follow you as well. They don't have to go out and buy something, or forget about buy. Like, they don't have to go out and collect something or use their hands to read it or open it up or go through. It's all there on their phones or their laptops, depending on what, right? Like, yes, do go digital. We do definitely think digital is the future. Himanshu asks, which platform does Digit use to host a blog? WordPress. I wish we used WordPress, but we don't. Right now, I think we're going to be moving to WordPress soon enough as well. So right now, no. So do you guys have any more other questions? I hope you guys have had fun doing this the live AMA as well. I've definitely tried my best. I know it's the first time you guys are seeing me as well. I hope you guys had a lot of fun. Shramik asks, good question. Why isn't there any TV news channel only for tech news? Can we consider this an opportunity? 1000%. Yes. This is something I've noticed as well. But the problem with that is because tech is so easily available in terms of the internet, there is an opportunity, but the only thing is how do we go about it, right? Like that's a really good question. I mean, for us as well, for Digit as well, it's a very, very good question. My name's Andrew. Andrew. I'm sorry, I completely slipped my mind to give you guys my name, but yeah, my name is Andrew. You'll find me on the entertainment, generally in the entertainment section in Digit. I cover TV shows, sometimes video games, mostly video games, movies, television, stuff like that. Does content blog aggregation work in a blog article? I'm not sure, but good, good question. I think I'll have to find out the answer to that as well. Thank you so much, Kunal. I really, really appreciate the comment. Thank you. I wanted to do digits PC bills overclocking etc. So many chances. Nice question. I'm not sure. Like I'll have to speak to my PC dude about that. Hey, thanks so much, Kunal. Really appreciate the comment. Yeah. All right. Any more questions, guys? I think my mouth is getting dry as well. Answering all these questions. Just a second. I something I really hope I've answered all your questions on in terms of content for a tech blog. Kunal asks, how many gadgets do you get daily? Uh, Sometimes none. Sometimes you get two or three. It all depends on what is launching when. Like it usually happens on a we tend to say look at it on a weekly basis. Okay, like Monday this came, Tuesday this came. Like generally that way. It just depends on what companies are sending on what particular things. But usually around maybe one or two a day sometimes. Thank you so much, Darren. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the comment. Thanks, guys. Like, you guys have been awesome, man. From right from here. Thank you, sure. Thank you. Thanks, Himanshu, for the comment. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'm hoping maybe we can do more AMAs about like gaming or stuff like that, like or comic books. I would love that. Like that's my expertise. Like so. Kunal also asks, do brands give you devices for testing? Yeah, they do. Yes, they do. I mean, once it comes in for review, then you automatically go start testing it, right? Like Kunal asks, what does Digit do with the review units once the shooting and reviewing is done? We generally hand them back over to the company. We don't keep most of the stuff. We try to be very. There's a certain amount of integrity to it, right? We cannot do that. So what we do is we hand them back to the company, whether they want it or not. So yes, they do. Yeah, Kunal. Yes, for when it comes to review, that's when we test it as well. Thank you so much, Sunit. Thank you so much for that comment. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks, Himanshu. Definitely. Maybe in the future sometime, like depends on our tech team. If they decide to do an AMA, I would love to like talk more to you guys about this stuff. I'll answer Shomik's question first. Kunal, just give me a second. The current moment global health pandemic seems a very good opportunity for new innovations in tech. I'm very worried that I'm not getting groundbreaking ideas. I can completely understand. Yeah, like a lot of us also have been stuck at home, and like this is just a little bit off topic as well. We humans are social creatures, right? We need to have people around us to really to enrich our lives, and so being stuck inside, like your head is also not working correctly. I completely understand. So maybe in the future, like once this ends and you're able to get out of the house, maybe that'll kickstart all the ideas in your head. So don't worry, man. Dragon Force asks, so what about using tech blogs and a Telegram group? Any help if people just read the article name heading and get an idea but don't open the blog, so it'll help? Do Digit have Telegram account? Right now we don't have a Telegram account, so I won't be able to answer that question for you. But in terms of headlines, don't give away everything in your headline. Like keep something in the article for a reader to read, just as a content thing as well. Now getting back to content, if like I'll just give you a basic thing. Same. Xiaomi releases that dash dash on thing and it comes with a particular SOC. Don't mention the SOC in the thing. Or don't mention the release date. It says it releases or will release, around June. Don't give the date. Make the reader go into the article to read it. It's a slight form of clickbait, but not really because you're not lying to them. You're just withholding information so that people read the article. That's just a smart way of doing things. Kunal asks, you get review units how many days before launch? It depends on the company. Like if they want to, give it a week or so, sometimes usually maybe 2 weeks before, it gives us time to sort of test and have an editorial plan out for it as well. Excuse me. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, sorry, I just answered your question, Kunal. We usually get them about maybe a week or two. Depends. So, hey, not a problem, Dragon Force. Not a problem at all. Shomik asks, aren't ads annoying? Yes, they are. Very annoying. Like, bit of a trade secret. I use ad block. I personally use ad block. What if you leak the device before launch? Or we look, as journalists and as people in editorial, we cannot afford to do that. We cannot do that. If we do that, we just get blacklisted. You cannot do that. Like it's very bad ethics when it comes to journalism to try and leak something before launch. I'm not sure if other people have done it. We are very clear on this. We don't leak things anything before launch. I hope that answers your question. Hey, again, thank you guys so much for joining us at this AMA. I don't know how long we've gone. It's been an hour, 15 minutes. Uh, this has gone on a little bit longer than I'd assumed as well. Um, Sharath asks, does Digit have a list of favorite tech YouTubers, ones that they follow? Oh yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have very similar sort of YouTube tech bloggers that we follow, like your Marcus Brownlee, MKBHD, Linus Tech Tips. I follow Syndicate Hardware a lot. I read a lot about their sort of like graphics cards and stuff. I think they're the best. Digital Foundry is fantastic for video games. Um, what else do I follow in terms of tech blog or even for all of us? Yeah, I think that I mean, for just on the top of my head, those are the kind of guys that we follow: MKBHD, Linus Tech Tips, Syndicate Hardware, Digital Foundry, of course, all your other video game YouTubers like Rock Paper Scissors, Easy Allies, stuff like that. Like, Shamik asks, oh sorry, DK asks, tech also has a very vast area to cover. Should we follow a niche or go with the flow? I personally would say be niche. Going with the flow means you're going to be writing content like everybody else, right? Like that's not what you really want to do. You want to have very niche content. So I would say be niche about it. Like that usually helps get your name out because you'll be concentrating. And plus, if you're maybe a small team, you guys can like put everything you all have into that one particular niche. So from a personal standpoint, I would say niche. Himanshu asks, Kunal asks, but journalists do show leaks from different sources. Yeah, okay. So, you, if you mean like when we get the product leaking it, or do you mean just sort of leaking it when other websites have leaked it? If it's when we get products, then absolutely not. But if somebody else has published another leak, like say, the OnePlus or iPhone 12 Pro has leaked, yeah, then we absolutely do publish leaks as well because then that's become worldwide news, right? So can we make good relationship with brands so that they can share more information about their gadgets before launch? Yes, yes, you can. Message the PR people, send emails, go for launches. As I said, like once they have a face to attach to your brand, to your website, brands will generally try and come to you because they want to get their word out as well, right? So do keep that in mind. Like yes, you can send them emails, keep them in the loop. Like hey, this is say you have a tech or hey, I am from this we would like to review, and just keep sending them emails. Be consistent about it. Shawmik says, I'm about to pass the 12th. What can you recommend me to do so that I can stay in the circle of tech, like competitions, events, internships? Internships work. Competitions and events, I don't think as much, but yeah, internships work. As I said, it has to come from here. You have to really love it. Once you love it and like you have the passion for it, nothing is difficult anymore. It just becomes something that you have to do. We've all run out of questions. Just a sort of end thing for us as well. Again, thank you so much, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate the fact and all the awesome comments and stuff. I'm really happy that you guys also really like the AMA as well. I'm hoping that maybe we guys are going to be able to do more of this in the future. But let's see. I mean, hoping that everything works better. Hey, thank you, Manshu. Really glad that you liked it. I hope I answered a lot of questions. I'm not a technical guy, so I won't be able to give you like the technical aspects of running a blog, but I can definitely help you guys out with content and stuff like that. So thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely, Kunal. I'll definitely check my email tonight. Maybe reply to you. Don't worry about that. Thanks again, Kunal. Any Digit Squad meetup post lockdown? Not really sure. I mean, we'll definitely find out, and you guys will get an email from it. So. All right, I think we've come to the end of this AMA. It's been almost an hour, 20 minutes. I've had an awesome time talking to you guys. I hope you guys have had a great time talking to me as well. Again, my name is Andrew. You can find me on the Digit website under the entertainment section. Like I cover all of that kind of stuff. Do check out our YouTube pages as well. I think we do a lot of videos and that kind of stuff there as well. So thank you so much, guys. Thanks a ton for joining us. Really appreciate it from here. All right, I think this is the end of it. Yes, sorry, one last question Kunal asked. Yes, we are on Instagram and Twitter. So, yeah, just follow us there as well. Digit.in. You'll find us both there. All right, guys, I think we've gone on very long, so I'm going to wrap it up now. Thank you so much for joining us again, guys. I really appreciate all the really good comments. Thank you guys for sticking with Digit for such a long time as well. We really, really appreciate it. And maybe next time when we do the AMA, we'll have a lot more questions to talk about. So thanks so much, guys. See you all next time.